Cholera is an acute diarrheal disease caused by Vibrio cholerae O group 1 or O group 139. The infection ranges from symptomless to severe infection, and the majority of cases are either asymptomatic or just mild infections. But a typical case is characterized by sudden onset of profuse, effortless, and watery diarrhea, followed by vomiting and dehydration, muscular cramps, and suppression of urine. The case fatality can be very high if no treatment is given, if the fluid and electrolytes are not replaced, and it ranges from 30 to 40% in untreated cases. The problem statement in world. Number of cholera cases have been rising in the recent years, even while the cases are supposedly underreported because of inadequate surveillance systems or underreporting because of fear of trade and travel sanctions. Outbreaks in the world are caused by O group 1 and O139. Majority are by O group 1. O139 is limited to Southeast Asia. New L-TOR variants are detected in Asia and Africa, which can cause more severe cholera with higher case fatality rates. L-TOR variants have been traditionally associated with milder cases and with much lower case fatality rates. But recently, higher virulence L-TOR variants have been identified in Asia and Africa. Hence, careful monitoring of the strain which has caused the outbreak is recommended. It is very important to know which strain has caused the present outbreak. Global warming has been reported to be favorable for Vibrio cholerae spread. The typical areas include peri-urban slums, disaster resulting in disruption of water and sanitation system, population displacement in overcrowded camps. Epidemics never arise from dead bodies. It remains, that is, the incidence of cholera remains a key indicator of the social development or its lack. New challenges for cholera for control of cholera are emergence of new and more virulent strains, antimicrobial resistance, and climate change. Indian scenario of cholera. L-TOR biotype got introduced into India in 1964, and since then it has replaced the classical strain prevalent in India before that. Prior to this, classical strain was widely prevalent, and with the introduction of L-TOR, West Bengal, which used to be the home of cholera, lost this tag, and in the new areas where cholera was introduced, it was present more as smoldering infection rather than outbreaks or epidemics with high case fatality rates. Smoldering infections, that is, mild infections with low fatality. Explosive outbreaks, which used to occur following large fairs, became rare, and there has been no large-scale epidemic of classical cholera since 1964 for reasons not known. L-TOR biotype has replaced classical biotype all over the country, and most of the L-TOR biotype are Ogawa serotype in the country. Cases are reported from Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and West Bengal. Cholera can occur both as an epidemic, that is, as an outbreak, or endemic, that is smoldering infection, depending upon the agent and environment factors. The agent characteristics are ability to survive in a given environment, virulence of the strain, and the average number of organisms, that is the dose required to cause infection. The environmental characteristics which determine whether it will be epidemic or endemic, the number of susceptibles, opportunities for transmission of the Vibrio, like unsafe drinking water, overcrowding, etc. So it is said that introduction of cholera into any community is easy and cannot be prevented, but whether it turns into a public health problem or not depends if the sanitation is satisfactory or not. An epidemic of cholera is typically abrupt in onset, which spreads fast and cause deaths. It reaches a peak and then subsides gradually as the force of infection declines. It is ultimately self-limiting because cholera confers temporary immunity and a large number of subclinical infections now start occurring. The force of infection has two components, that is through infected water and through contact, person to person contact. Hence, elimination of the contaminated water source does not immediately cause epidemic to end, but a tail is produced due to continuation of person to person transmission. Endemicity of cholera. When an area is endemic for cholera, the endemicity is not stable. That is, it shows seasonal fluctuations. There may be occasional outbreaks. The seasonal variation also differs from region to region and country to country, and within the same region it changes with time. For example, previously cholera outbreaks were common in summers in Kolkata and during winters in Bangladesh, but now at both the places it occurs more commonly in autumn. L. tor strain has a greater endemic tendency rather than to cause outbreaks, unlike the classical strains. This is because of higher infection to case ratio, that is, more of asymptomatic or mild cases as compared to number of classic cholera cases. There has been speculation about what happens to Vibrio cholerae during interepidemic periods. Because in endemic areas also cholera occurs at intervals and humans are the only known reservoir. So how does the bacteria survive in between the outbreaks? Three explanations have been proposed. There may be existence of long-term carriers which maintain the reservoir, or there may be a diminished but continuous transmission may be occurring by asymptomatic cases. It has also been proposed that the bacteria exists in a free living form in the environment and may transform later on. Some people have even speculated that non-O group 1 Vibrio cholerae, which are highly prevalent in surface waters, can they transform into O group 1 and which can then cause cholera outbreaks. Epidemiology of any disease is discussed in terms of agent, host and environment factors which affect the occurrence of the disease. So we will discuss agent, host and environment factors. First, the agent, that is Vibrio cholerae. Vibrio cholerae O group 1 or O group 139 cause cholera. Vibrio cholerae which do not agglutinate with O1 or O139 were previously known as non-agglutinating vibrios can cause cholera-like diarrhea, but then this case will not be caused as cholera because it is not caused by O group 1 or 139. Hence, it is necessary to identify Vibrio cholerae O1 or O139 for specific diagnosis of cholera. Vibrio cholerae O1 has two biotypes, classical and Altor, both of which have three serological types, Ogawa, Inaba, and Hikojima. Most strains isolated, serological types isolated are Altor, Ogawa serotype in our country. This is in short we have discussed Vibrio cholerae O1 139, classical and Altor, each of which have Ogawa, Inaba and Hikojima serotypes. Resistance of the agent. It is killed in half an hour by heating at 56 degrees Celsius. Boiling kills it within a few seconds. It can survive in ice for as long as 4 to 6 weeks, maybe even longer. It is easily destroyed by the disinfectants like Crisol and bleaching powder. L-Tor biotype is in general more resistant than the classical biotype of Vibrio cholerae. Vibrio cholerae produces toxin. It multiplies inside the lumen of the small intestine and produces an exotoxin. This exotoxin is an enterotoxin, that is toxic to the intestine. The toxin activates adenyl cyclase, which activates cyclic AMP system of mucosal cells of the small intestine, and the exotoxin has no effect on any other tissue apart from the epithelium of the gut. Reservoir of infection. Human being is the only known reservoir, which can be a case or a carrier. Cases range from inapparent infection to severe disease. 75% of infections may be asymptomatic, but they shed bacteria for 7 to 14 days after infection. Only 5% of the infections develop severe diarrhea, vomiting and dehydration. People with low immunity are at a greater risk of death if they are infected, and it is the mild and asymptomatic cases which play a significant role in maintaining the endemic reservoir. Carriers mostly are temporary, though rarely one may become chronic carrier. Carrier excrete much fewer vibrios. Hence, a carrier can only be detected by the bacteriological examination of a purged stool. Purged stool is induced by giving 30 to 60 gram of magnesium sulfate dissolved in 100 ml of water orally, and the stool that follows is called as the purged stool. The source of infection is the stool and vomit of the cases or carriers. Infective dose. Cholera is dose related. So only if the ingested dose is more than the infective dose for that individual will the individual get infected and diseased. A normal person's infective dose is 10 raised to the power 11 organisms for producing clinical illness. Period of communicability for a case is 7 to 10 days. For convalescent carriers, 2 to 3 weeks. And for chronic carrier, it can range from 1 month to 10 years. Carriers in cholera. You can get a short note on it. Carriers is defined as an apparently healthy person who is excreting Vibrio cholerae O1 in stools. 4 types of carriers have been described in cholera. Preclinical or incubatory carriers. These are carriers for short duration. Convalescent carrier, contact or healthy carrier, and chronic carrier. Preclinical or incubatory carriers, they shed the bacteria while they are within incubation period. After they become diseased, they are case and no longer a carrier. Convalescent carrier, they have recovered from cholera, but some of them may shed Vibrio cholerae for 2 to 3 weeks. This state occurs among those patients who have not received effective antibiotic treatment. Some of them can become chronic carriers. Contact or healthy carriers. These are those individuals who acquire infection from a case or a carrier, but this infection remains subclinical. Their duration is usually less than 10 days. After that, they stop shedding because the gallbladder is not infected. They play an important role in the spread of cholera during outbreaks. A chronic carrier occurs infrequently, and the longest carrier state has been found to be over 10 years. In this case, the gallbladder gets infected and maintains the infection.